What's up, guys? Doing a little Twins opening day not podcast, but rather periscope. So I think we'll have a little bit of fun with it. I got a pen and paper this time so I can write down some of these questions so that I don't forget in case you ask them while I'm on. That was a great game. I don't know. We got, looks like Bittner. I don't know if that's in reference to the national title game or the Twins game, but both were obviously very interesting. I'm going to quick let people know on Twitter that I'm on Periscope right now. All right, Buxton, my expectations. All right. So, for Byron Buxton, I wrote tonight for Zone Coverage. You can check it out, zonecoverage.com. And I basically wrote that I thought that he basically illustrated today what he's capable of doing and how he can affect a game when he's not hitting. Obviously going 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts, pretty much looking overmatched at the plate to the point where even Peter Moylan came in and struck him out. Moylan not exactly reminding people of the Royals bullpen stalwarts of yore, like Wade Davis, Luke Hochevar, and those kind of deals. So it was obviously a down day for Buxton offensively. Doesn't mean that I'm not expecting him to have a nice season or anything with the bat, but he did, with the 2 nice plays, obviously show what he's capable of defensively and how he can affect a game, obviously more than with the bat. The 2 plays that he made in I want to say the 3rd and the 5th inning or 2nd and the 5th inning came when the game was scoreless and then when it was a 1-1 tie, I believe. So obviously, the Twins obviously blew the game open in the 7th inning, but when he made each of those plays, it was in a situation where the game hung in the balance. Making a diving play like that, if it gets past him, the ball probably rolls to the fence. It ends up in a double or triple. The pitcher at the time, Irvin Santana, has to throw from the stretch. Situationally, a lot of things could happen that those plays could have dictated or altered how the day went. Similarly, Santana getting to finish the 7th inning obviously played a big part as well. I thought he might go to Taylor Rogers, that is Paul Molitor, and have him face the lefty Brandon Moss. Instead, sticks with Irvin Santana, who promptly strikes out Moss and strikes out the side in the 7th. What's amazing is that only 3 strikeouts for Santana today, all 3 in the 7th inning, in his last inning of work. On a day where he set down 15 out of 16 batters with only the Moustakas home run leading off the 3rd inning, I believe it was, as the base runner to reach. Actually, it was a Lorenzo Cain walk, 15 out of 16 retired, then a Lorenzo Cain walk that ended it. Cain was actually the runner stranded on base when Santana neutralized the 7th inning threat before giving way to Matt Belisle in the 8th, Brandon Kinsler in the 9th. Obviously, with the game well at hand by that point, since the Twins pushed across 6 runs in the 7th. Pretty good offensive performance by the Twins today, I must say. Biggest thing for me, 1 through 4 hitters going 1 for 14. They did walk, I think, 4 times, but did have 7 strikeouts. And it was, a deal where the guys at the bottom of the lineup carried the water. Batters 6, I want to say it was 6 through 9. Nice. Went combined, I think they had 6 of the 8 hits. So guys like Jason Castro, Jorge Polanco, the only 2 Twins with multiple hits. Castro got on base 4 times, 2 hits, 2 walks. Polanco with a couple hits and a walk. And Polanco started that 7th inning by sneaking that single over the outstretched glove of Alcides Escobar, shortstop. And that's what kind of led to the goofy inning. I didn't really care for how the Twins attacked things in the 7th inning. I didn't think that the bunt play was a good idea in that I didn't really like the bunt call because I felt like it was setting up Eddie Rosario with a runner on second and 1 out. Not really a preferable situation because if you still have your lefty in there, Strom is nasty when he's right. He can clean up Rosario. You could walk Dozier, and then you're facing Grossman, who at that point was 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts and a walk. Yes, team never bunt, I agree. So, again, too, where I was critical of the Kepler bunt was the first bunt attempt was within a sliver of being picked up in fair territory by Salvador Perez and turned into an easy double play because Kepler, who frustrated with himself with the failed bunt, didn't get out of the box. So Perez fired down to second base and would have had an easy double play, and that inning would have been neutralized. As a Giants writer, I'm happy to see Mejia get the fifth spot. What do you think? I obviously think that Mejia is maybe not a high ceiling guy as a rookie, but I think this guy mixed 90, 92, good secondary stuff, can throw pretty much any pitch in any count, and has the look of a guy who should be able to hold down the fifth spot. The number 5 starter in the American League is not really a high bar to jump. Sabathia comps, that seems a little bit lofty to me. Obviously, CC Sabathia, when he was his age, probably already had 3 or 4 years of big league experience, because keep in mind, Sabathia was the starting pitcher on Joe Mauer's Major League debut back in 2004, and he was like a third-year player at that time. I want to say Sabathia debuted in like 2001, so it's obviously pretty lofty. So I think that Mejia has a nice potential ceiling as a number 3, number 4 starter. Number 3 would be his absolute ceiling. But you know what? A lefty that can spin it and can throw strikes, the ceiling is the roof, as North Carolina fans might say. So I don't think he's a CC Sabathia by any means, but I think he could be pretty good. Is Molitor crazy by batting Joe Mauer cleanup? That was another thing that came up today in the 7th inning. I was thinking about too, with 2 outs and the bases loaded, and the next batter up is Mauer. Mauer ended up walking, Sano ended up walking, and then Castro stroked the second straight single that he hit right over Moustakas' head. But, if Mauer gets out there, that's not a great situation. Mauer, lefty-lefty matchup with Strahm, who is very difficult. Actually, the thing about Strahm as a lefty, lots of strikeouts, lots of walks, but lots of grounders. The situation was set up for Strahm to be successful there. He just didn't execute. But what I didn't like there was the lefty-lefty matchup where you could end that inning with the game still tied and Miguel Sano on the sidelines watching. And that's why you probably want Sano obviously batting a little bit higher than Mauer in the order, or higher than he was. And obviously, a big part of that is revisionist thinking. When you sit in a moment and you're watching it play out in front of you, you're going to say, oh, gee, I wish Miguel Sano was up here instead of Joe Mauer. But that's kind of the thing you have to prepare for when you write your lineup every day. And do you want Joe Mauer coming up in these situations? If he's facing a righty, I suppose you do. And the other thing is, Joe Mauer, the odds he's going to take a walk with guys on base is still fairly high. So, it was one of those deals where, it worked out. But I don't think that it's I don't think that it was an ideal situation to have Joe Mauer batting cleanup. I'm not sure it will stick, but I also don't think that Paul Molitor is going to be apprehensive after one day of anything. I don't think Byron Buxton's going to move down the order just because of how he played on opening day. Now, one thing that Molitor did say was that his lineups against lefties are going to be variable. Does that mean maybe having Dozier bat third, Robbie Grossman lead off, and Jorge Polanco bat near the top of the order to lengthen it out a little bit? I think that's certainly a possibility, but I don't know. I think Mauer might hit 7th against lefties more than people might think. I know he did hit cleanup today, but Molitor did also admit, he did feel a bit of pressure with opening day to get, the regulars in there. Keep in mind, too, the bench offensively, Eduardo Escobar, he's a fairly good offensive player when he's right. But between him, Jimenez, and Danny Santana, you're not benching anybody to put those guys in. So I didn't really have a problem with the lineup. It's just funny, though, that the bottom half of the order is how the runs are scored. Somebody did ask about Jason Castro at the plate, expectations for him. Obviously, I think the most impressive thing today was that all of his plate appearances came against lefties. He's traditionally struggled against lefties and, obviously reached base 4 times. I don't think you can expect that regularly from him. I think, if he can give him, 230 batting average with some power, 12 to 15 home runs, and hold his own against righties, I'm not really sure what else they could ask for. Belial going to be the main setup guy for Kinsler. I think it'll be mix and match. I think that it's probably, Lavelle and Seth Stowe's, probably people you guys know if you follow the Twins, both leaned towards Taylor Rogers, which to me is strange. To me, even though they have Craig Breslow to be the situational lefty, I'm not bringing in Taylor Rogers to face Lorenzo Cain. I bring him in to face Eric Hosmer. I bring him in to face Michael Moustakas. He mows down lefties. He did have a stretch last year where he could get righties out. But I don't think Taylor Rogers is one of their setup guys. And for me, Presley, it's probably 1A with Belisle, 1B with Presley. I like Presley's raw stuff more. Belisle has shown more as a big leaguer, so I think he probably gets the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that it's a dumpster fire of a bullpen either. I know people have been, obviously very down on this bullpen, but, I think that they could be decent. The middle of the year last year, they were right around middle of the pack. I want to say 13th, 15th in ERA. And when you look at it, that's before they brought up guys like Pat Light, Alex Wimmers. And Wimmers was okay. He was nothing special. But it was also after they cut guys like Kevin Jepson, Casey Fien, both guys that struggled out of the gate. So in the middle of the year when they had most of their good guys going and rowing in the same direction, Trevor May between injuries, and guys like that, they did have a fairly decent bullpen last year. It's just that they couldn't sustain it and then had to go to guys that couldn't help them. And, the Pat Lights of the world, as I mentioned. So I do think there's potential there for a middle-of-the-pack bullpen, and I think that would be something that fans would... I don't know if an average fan would appreciate it, because keeping in mind that they saw a very bad bullpen last year, you'd think they would come to appreciate something that much improved, but I also feel like fans kind of don't appreciate it unless it's good. And if it's not good, if it's only decent, I don't think that they're going to, I don't think they're going to like it. Did I like Molitor sticking with Santana in the 7th? I did. I thought he was going to go to Rogers. Keep in mind, with an 8-man bullpen, if you go to a reliever with, with that much game left, you've still got plenty of guys to mix and match. And, it's a bullpen of guys that I think he trusts. I think Haley, at this point, is maybe the only one he wouldn't trust in that situation. So I think that it made sense to me if he'd have gone to Taylor Rogers, especially with Brandon Moss coming up. But at the same time, too, I think Santana was at like 80 pitches at that point, or 82 pitches. So I was skeptical he would take him out. Molitor has, I think, on a couple occasions I've seen before, gone out and talked to pitchers and been talked into leaving them in. Santana is obviously that kind of guy because, he's going to be the veteran leader of that rotation. But I thought it was about a 50-50 chance. In fact, I had queued up a tweet that I said, he's going to go to Rogers here to take down the lefty matchup. But, he showed loyalty or patience with Irvin Santana, whatever you want to call it, and was rewarded thusly. And to his credit, Santana had only allowed 4 base runners to that point all game. Two hits. He only allowed 2 hits. The ground ball single that was negated by a double play ball. Perez hit it, and then Moss hit it a double play, and then the home run by Moustakas. So one of those deals where I think he did a fine job there. Molitor said pregame that Presley, Belisle, and Rogers are the higher leverage guys. Yeah, I don't think Rogers is in there. I think it's 1A, 1B, and then Rogers is number 2. I don't think Rogers is 1C. But again, if it's an inning where they're facing Moustakas and Hosmer with a 2-run lead, then you've got plenty of leeway, and I think they probably bring in Taylor Rogers in that situation. If it's 2 out of 3 that are righties, or workload situation, that'll change things a little bit too. And I think Tyler Duffy could be in that mix pretty quickly. It's going to be fun to see how Duffy's stuff pops in the bullpen if he can catch a couple ticks on his fastball. Because if he can, there's no reason why he can't be the number 1 setup guy. Now, that's obviously far off in the distance, and if he becomes the number 1 setup guy, I suspect that would be because Brian Presley's the closer. But, anything that can make the bullpen more fortified at the back end is obviously going to be seen as a positive. And so I hope to see that happen because it's obviously... something they've been working on and something they'd like to have as a stronger back end of the bullpen, now with Glenn Perkins pretty much completely out of the picture. Okay, so we talked about Castro at the plate. Buxton's strikeout rate, somebody was asking about that. I think you're just going to kind of have to live with it. I think if you can keep it at 30%, and again, 30% is very high. He's at 60% after one game. I mean, small sample size, supreme. But if he can keep it at 30%, he can be a successful big league player. You know, he with a 720 OPS and good defense, steal some bases. You know, obviously can't steal first base, the old adage. He's going to have to get on base. But he drove that one ball to center field pretty good today that Kane had to go back on. You know, he battled in his 2 strike plate appearances. There was only, I think, 1, maybe 2 plate appearances where he looked, you know, you kind of saw the shades of the old Buxton of old, you know, being overmatched in situations. But, you know, disappointing to see Pete Moylan strike him out. Pete Moylan, obviously, like I said at the beginning, or at the top of the broadcast here, Pete Moylan's nothing special. That's the kind of guy that Buxton needs to square up and find a way to get on base against. You know, Danny Duffy's tough. And his changeup was dancing. I think he had 7 swinging strikes on it today and 16 total in 100 pitches. So, I mean, Danny Duffy is going to be a really nice pitcher, not only for the Royals and in this league, but, you know, as a starter, he's nasty. You know, the pitch tracker at Target Field kept calling his changeup a cutter, about 85, 86 miles per hour, but it was dancing all over the place. And I think he had Robbie Grossman eating out of the palm of his hand twice early in the game. And yeah, I just think that the Twins did well to keep close. Do you think they had better energy this time around versus last year, previous seasons? Yeah, I do. Actually, I wrote that at the end of my recap today. Again, if you haven't read it yet, please do. It is very long. I apologize for that. But I did break down some of my thoughts as far as today's game. I like to do it in block parts, you know, things I notice. Miguel Sano picking up third base on the Jason Castro, the second single in the 7th inning, ends up scoring on Jorge Polanco's single. Again, that 7th run was an insurance run. But this is a team that didn't do those little things last year. And I hate the idea that little things. You know, we've been hearing it as Twins people forever. The Twins do the little things. The Twins do the little things. Well, the Twins haven't done the little things in a decade. And I think Pat Borsley on Midwest Swing last week said it too. You know, the Twins haven't done the little things right in Target Field. It's been since the Metrodome days since the Twins did the little things right. We're starting to see, I think, a new emphasis on that. The other thing, the ground ball double play off the bat of Brandon, I keep wanting to say Brandon Moss, early in the game. Polanco was standing right where that ball was hit, and you almost feel like that's a spray chart thing. Now, I don't know if that's a Jeff Smith thing or a Jeff Pickler thing. I want to say it's a Pickler thing. But they had Polanco prepared for that. Polanco looked fairly good at shortstop today. Sano was all right at third. There was some talk about whether or not he should have been charged with an error in the 9th inning. If you look at where he was on the field and how far he had moved to get to that ball, I don't really have a problem with them not charging him with an error there. But, you know, defensively, no errors on either side. Both teams caught the ball, as you might expect. I didn't have any problems with that. So anyway, the positioning on the ground ball double play off the bat of Moss, that stood out to me as a spray chart or an advanced scouting thing where he was standing right where the ball was going to go. Now part of that could have been a lefty, part of a lefty shift, but it was it looked like preparation. And it's just been so long since we've seen that level of preparation with the Twins that I was impressed by that. So Polanco, obviously, defensively and on the offensive side of things, rolling that ball through the hole between first and second, taking what the pitcher was giving him. I thought he did a nice job. Okay, so we got one person saying that Sano should have had an error. I could take or leave it there. You know, if they gave him an error, that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But he did, you know, he was quite a ways away from third base. Home cooking, whatever, I don't care. At least he was trying to go after that. With that being said, can they use this as a springboard to a successful winning season? I try not to overreact to one game. Obviously, winning one game, 9 games sooner than last year is great. The vibe around the park before and after, to me, felt much, much looser than last year. Keep in mind, though, the Twins came home on a 5-game losing streak last year, or I don't remember what it was. I know they lost in Baltimore and they also lost elsewhere before coming home. And so they obviously were already kind of wound tight at that point and just never really found their groove after that. I just think that the veteran leaders, the Breslows, the Jimenez Castros, all those guys will have some effect that we may not be able to tangibly show statistically. But if the team wins 76, 78 games, might be able to point to that and say, hey, these guys kept some of this preparation stuff moving in the right direction. They helped reinforce maybe, bunt defense or something where, those small things over the course of a year can snowball and can become bigger issues. My primary contention was that no team left more games in the margins last year. In fact, we talked to Thad Levine and Derek Falvey about this on Sunday at Target Field. We got to go visit with them before the season got underway. And I basically just said to each of them, it looked to me as a casual observer that the Twins left a lot of games in the margins and that you attacked the offseason with these mentally capable veterans who are going to help clean up those margins. And they basically both agreed that, that was the plan, or at least that's how it panned out. I think they missed out on a free agent or two that they would have liked to help that plan. I think Mike Napoli was very high on that list, and I think that they offered him more money than Texas did. But, what can you do? Guy can only sign where he wants to sign. But, I felt a more confident air around Target Field today than pretty much at any point last year. And I just think that, the guys are going to stay a little looser. They're going to be a little bit, more loosey-goosey and win some more ball games. I don't think there's going to be a 100-loss season, maybe not even a 90-loss season. I'm hoping they can win 75, 76 games. I don't have anything to gain from them winning or losing. I write what I see. I say what I see. And today I saw a ball club that was a lot looser, manager that just seemed like he was more in tune with what was going on in the field, enjoying it more, happier with how players responded, both in spring training and into the instruction and to carry it into the season. So, I got a good vibe about this team. It's not obviously not division champs vibe, but competitive. I think they can play competitive baseball into August and early September. Play spoiler late, knock off the Detroit Tigers or the Royals or whoever. I think Cleveland's going to run away with the division, but I do though want to talk about the Royal. Okay, what's with the Twins playing 10 of the first 12 as day games? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Who do we got here? Oh, Alex Thunstrom. Hey, man, what's going on? I do want to talk about the Royals. Yeah, I just didn't think the Royals' offense was all that impressive today, and not particularly deep. At the bottom of the order, Raul Mondesi and Alcides Escobar. You're talking about two guys that are probably going to get on base, 270. Yeah, that's going to leave no runs, RBI potential for Alex Gordon at the top. And, Ned Yost used to kind of stack it so that Alcides Escobar would be batting leadoff, which, was strange. I don't know. I just don't look at that offense and feel real worried. Up the middle, Lorenzo Cain is a great hitter, and they're going to get Jorge Soler back at some point. Jury's still out on exactly how good Soler is. Gordon has a lot to prove after last year. Moustakas, really nice player. Hosmer is... I'm the low guy on Hosmer. I just don't think he's anything special. And I'm sure that I could probably get some grief for that. But I think Brandon Belt of the Giants is the player that everyone thinks Eric Hosmer is. Brandon Belt's awesome. Gets on base, hits for a little bit of power. And, Hosmer might hit a few more home runs, but... he's just not... I don't know. I think Eric Hosmer's overrated. And maybe I'll take some grief for that, but I don't really have a problem with that. I think the jury, the sabermetric jury is out on his defense. I think he's a pretty good defender, and maybe they don't give him enough credit for that. But, he hits 260 with a 320 on base and a 440 slugging. Big deal. I just don't think that's that impressive. So their offense, to me, is... I'm way more enthused about the Twins' offense, and I think Fangraphs ranked the Twins' bullpen ahead of Kansas City's too. So we'll see how that pans out, because Kansas City's rotation's not that great either. I do obviously feel bad that Yordano Ventura plays a big part in that, but tell you what, if Ian Kennedy is starting your second game of the year, I think the Twins have a good chance to take the series. And I mean, you got Kansas City and Chicago right out of the gates. That's a chance to, be 4-2, 5-1 coming out of the gates. Then things get a little tougher when you come back home, and I think you get Detroit coming in eventually here pretty soon, and wrap up the month here at home again as well. But there's no reason this can't be a 500 month, and maybe I'm trying not to overreact to what happened just in one day, but I do feel like this is a much looser bunch. It's going to be a team that I think will be more competitive over the course of the season. So, feel free to disagree if you wish, and people can get comments in. I got, so we talked about Byron Buxton's strikeout rate. Again, I think you're going to have to live with 30% at this point, which, in the modern day game, that's just the reality. I think the Twins are going to strike out. They did today. I think Danny Duffy tied a Kansas City Royals opening day record with 8 strikeouts in 6 innings. Again, they couldn't touch his changeup. Offense looks good, but the rest of the rotation concerns me. Yeah, I mean, they got asked if let's see, any reason you were against Rosario Bunting. Yeah, I'll break it down in just a minute. Yeah. So the rest of the rotation, it's going to be interesting, because obviously Hector Santiago, who strangely enough has the best ERA of all the starters, career ERA. There is some weird stuff. So no, always okay. I can write about that too. Santiago's had some success in his career, and obviously, he does it unconventionally, working with a high fastball in the high 80s. But it's not like Tommy Malone. I think Santiago's got a little better feel for the game, and I just think he's a better pitcher than Malone, who obviously saw some action today for the Brewers because Junior Guerra got hurt, which was obviously a frustrating situation. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I talked to Phil Hughes for a little bit today. He did say that he had spoken with a couple of the other thoracic outlet guys earlier this offseason, Luke Hochevar and Matt Harvey, but hasn't talked to them much. Suggested, though, that he's pretty sure everyone's recovery is a little different. Harvey obviously made it back. Hughes, as far as we know, has made it back. Yeah, he hasn't made that first start yet. But then Hochevar still unsigned. Haven't heard anything from him since the new year, and he's struggling to get healthy. So, he might be a total wild card. It might be the position or the roster or rotation spot that goes to Jose Barrios once he's lengthened out. I believe he's got an opening day start in Rochester coming up here at the end of the week. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly he lengthens out, and then if he gets to 8,500 pitches, 85 or 100, not 8,500 because this isn't the Stone Age here, 85 or 100 pitches and is ready, will Falvey and Levine make him wait his turn until obviously something opens up, or will they fast track him, send Mejia back down, or move some things around? I don't know what the plan is. It sounds like they're going to stick with 13 pitchers for the near term, but then health and weather, because obviously they've got some cold weather games coming up here to start the season. So health, weather, and then how guys respond in terms of results will determine how long they stick with that short bullpen, or that long bullpen, short bench. It did sound to me like they might like to get Kenny Vargas up sooner rather than later to give them a little more thump off the bench, or rather probably starting with Robbie Grossman coming off the bench. So I don't think they want Robbie Grossman DHing every day. I really don't. Today was not a good day for Robbie G, but he's supposed to hit lefties. Obviously Danny Duffy is an anomaly as far as a lefty. He's just not your garden variety lefty, so I don't feel too down on how Robbie played today. He just had a very tough matchup. Somebody asked about new food. Did not try anything in the stadium today. It's kind of a dumpster fire on the concourse on a day like today where it's 40,000 people in the stadium, and so I just stuck to the media buffet. It was chicken cordon bleu and some rare beef tenderloin. So just stuck with that with a salad, trying to watch my figure, which, as you can see, is not going well. Grossman did get the game-winning RBI. Yeah, you can't lose sight of that. I don't know if you guys collected baseball cards in the 80s like I did, because I'm old or whatever. But yeah, they would keep track of game-winning RBIs on baseball cards back in like 1988, 1987. So my mom would buy me old packs of cards, or actually my wife bought me like 20 packs of old baseball cards for Christmas 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, you thumb through them in the back, it says, you know, Ozzie Smith had 6 game-winning RBIs in 1985 or something like that. So yeah, I guess Grossman drove in the game-winning run with that walk that he took from Matt Strahm. West Fargo's Matt Strahm, I might add. Yeah, that 7th inning was weird. And somebody asked about the Rosario bunting situation. I'll hash it out again in case people weren't here earlier. But I didn't really hate the Rosario bunt as much. You know, you're still putting Dozier on and then setting up a double play. You know, you got to trust Grossman. You got to trust Buxton. I mean, that's a 2-3 part of the order that you don't really, you know, you can't really trust right now. And so, I don't know. I don't like setting up bunts for the bottom of the order, which is what the Kepler bunt was doing. Again, I realize lefty, and Kepler doesn't hit lefties well. That dates back to A-ball. I just didn't like setting up Rosario in the first place with the bunt, because then you've got Rosario up, runner on second. You've still got Strahm in. Obviously, Rosario hits lefties as well as he hits righties. The issue is he doesn't really hit anybody all that well. And so you probably, you know, if you have Rosario up, that's your number 9 hitter, with a runner on second and 1 out, I don't think you've really moved the needle far enough to, you know, guarantee or put yourself in a better position to score runs. Then they keep the lefty in, have him, you know, you figure Strahm can get Rosario out. And then it's a situation where they walk Dozier to face Grossman. And like I said, Grossman at that point was 0-for-2 with 2 pretty ugly strikeouts and a walk. So that at that point, you've taken the bat out of the hands of Max Kepler and Brian Dozier. You know, 2 of your 3 or 4 best hitters on the team. You've given away an out. You are giving Eddie Rosario, who's batting 9th for a reason, you know, one of your biggest plate appearances of the game, with the go-ahead run on second, with the potential that you will give away 2 of the 3 outs, you know, unless you trust Rosario to put the ball in play. I just didn't like it. And, you know, it ended up panning out, but it also took a botched bunt throw to first that Kepler was initially called out on. And then multiple walks. Strahm had like a 4.5 walks per 9 rate last year, so you could see that coming. But Strahm also, tons of strikeouts, had a lot of lefty-lefty matchups coming up in the order, and ground ball guy. So, you know, if it was a situation where you need to get a double play off the bat of Mauer, for instance, not that crazy that he could have done that. And again, too, I didn't like the Kepler situation because what I said earlier was Kepler bunted, the first bunt Kepler put down, so to speak, that was within a couple inches of Salvador Perez keeping it fair, throwing down to second, and having an easy double play, because a frustrated Kepler didn't run out of the box. You know, when you screw up a bunt like that, your initial reaction is frustration, and so you don't sprint out of the box. And the other thing too with bunting, when you're sacrifice bunting, the story, or I mean, what you're told as a very young player is make sure you get the bunt down. Don't run out of the box. Don't do some stupid drag bunt to try to increase your odds of getting on base. You get the bunt down, then you go. In that sense, Kepler was not rushing out of the box. Then again, you double down on that with the frustration of bunting poorly. And yeah, it was very nearly a bases emptying bunt into a double play. So that's the difference between an inning on the rocks, because then keep in mind, you've got Eddie Rosario up against a lefty, nobody on base, 2 outs. The rest of that inning is the 6 runs the Twins scored that was the margin of victory. Matt Strahm maybe gets the win. Irvin Santana's out at that point. Maybe they have to go to Taylor Rogers. Matt Belisle was lathered up at that point. I hate to harp on it because the Twins won today, but that was the potential difference between winning and losing, was whether or not Salvador Perez was able to pull that ball fair. And frankly, I didn't get a good look at it outside of, from the press box. Maybe he did. The umpire called it foul. Looked pretty close to fair to me, and it would have been an easy double play. And again, like I said, bases empty, Matt Strahm on the mound, and Eddie Rosario up with nobody on and 2 out. You got to feel bad for Strahm too. Second pitch of the inning, Polanco just lifts a little jam shot over short, and you lift the jam shot over short, just out of the reach of Escobar, and then the bunt that there's a good bunt eventually, the second bunt that Kepler got down. 2 balls barely hit, 1 ball hit kind of out of the infield and 1 not, and all of a sudden he's in hot water with runners on second and third after the Rosario bunt. That's a tough break. You can't compound that when you can't throw strikes afterward. And there's the value in having Robbie Grossman batting second, is that he will work the count no matter what side he's hitting from. So that is beneficial. I do like Grossman near the top of the order for that reason. And again, too, it is unconventional to start a rally with the bottom of your order. So maybe all this hand-wringing I'm doing about, sustaining rallies with the bottom of the order getting on base and the top of the order being a little bit disheveled, maybe I'm worrying about a lot of nothing. Keep in mind, too, like I said earlier, 1 through 4 went 1 for 15 with 7 strikeouts today. Now, they did walk 4 times, score 3 of the 7 runs. But 6 of the Twins' 8 hits today came from batters 6, 7, 8, and 9. I said early in the game, this is probably the most dynamic 7, 8, 9 Twins part of the lineup that we've seen maybe ever. Jorge Polanco, Max Kepler, Eddie Rosario. Each of those players has their warts, probably more on Rosario than anything. But that's a really dynamic bottom of the order. Now, it does mean Jason Castro's hitting 6th. And, if he can be anything like 2013, the Twins got a huge bargain. The odds of that I don't think are terribly high. But positive early returns hitting lefties, which, again, like I noted earlier, he struggled with. So, I think he did a nice job. And, it'll be interesting to see how he manages the pitching staff moving forward. And that's, too, where some of that work with the rest of the rotation will come in big. Can he make Kyle Gibson a decent starting pitcher? Someone asked me about Max Kepler as a bench player for fantasy baseball. Yeah, if he's available to stash on your bench, you should. In deeper leagues, I have him in quite a bit. I think he's going to give you decent on-base percentage, decent slugging percentage, maybe hit 35 doubles, 15 home runs. In a shallow league, he's going to get lost in the wash. But in a deep league, he can probably help you with pretty good batting average, and he's a decent player. Somebody asked about Miguel Sano on the phone, the Jim Souhan column that suggested that maybe, part of his maturity issues. I can't speak to that specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me. I do think there were some maturity issues last year. I did speak with some people who knew, and, there were situations where he would, not be out for early fielding, and he'd be, instead in the clubhouse eating food that his brother had gone and gotten for him or whatever. And, there were a couple times that I saw, Paul Molitor get after him, and I don't know if Molly knew that I was in the clubhouse. I was allowed to be, but I was just kind of blending in, I think. And, I think it was about being on time for a team function or something. He was late, and Molitor was just getting on him. So, again, this is a 23-year-old guy. These kind of things are going to happen, and I think he's learning from all of it. And, I was obviously very impressed with how he responded after his first plate appearance today. I think it was a 3-1 fastball from Duffy in the second inning. Hit a pop-up to Mondesi at second. But he learned, and that's one thing at the plate. Sano is very, very smart for someone his age. First pitch from Duffy the next time around absolutely hammers it into the left field seats, ties the game, and was part of 7 unanswered runs for the Twins after the Moustakas home run to open the 4th inning. And the offense responded. We haven't seen enough of that here over the last few years, and I don't know. I was just very impressed. I thought Sano took some steps forward today offensively. I think defensively, I think he's going to be okay. And, we'll see where they go from there. What else do people have here tonight? I'm a little surprised the Cats haven't made an appearance yet, but that's not a bad thing. Got some baby shower gifts here I'm trying to hide too, which is coming up this weekend, and trying to keep the lights off in the back. My house is kind of a dumpster fire right now. Been out of the house all day covering the Twins, so I haven't had time to tidy up. But all right, guys, hit me with some more Twins questions, or else we'll call it a night here pretty quick. I know it's getting kind of late, just past midnight here locally. How many games do you think Mauer starts? It's a good question. It's pretty tough to gauge right now because with no natural backup first baseman, it's probably closer to 130 right now. Yeah, first base, it's probably 130. Because I don't think they want to see Chris Jimenez at first base very much. I know Chris Jimenez is on this team for leadership and because he can hit lefties. But if you're benching somebody who can't hit lefties, are you benching Joe Mauer or Jason Castro? I feel like you should probably bench Jason Castro in that situation. How much baseball do the Cats actually watch? No, virtually none. The other night my wife was watching something upstairs, though, and Buster was watching. I don't remember what it was. Oh, it was Jungle Book. Cat took an interest in Jungle Book, the newer one, I think, is Real People or something. I don't know. I was asleep. Had worked a late night before, and so the cat and my wife watched Jungle Book, which is kind of funny. All right, last call. Let's get some questions in here, quick ones if you got. Otherwise, we got a podcast tomorrow with Mike Berardino, Midwest Swing. Really enjoy people listening to that. Check us out on Zone Coverage. I write a big pregame blog before and after every game, like 2,000 words. You're not going to get more coverage anywhere else. You might get better. You might get better coverage. Obviously, Berardino does fantastic work and has obviously much more know-how and connections in the game. But I'm working on that as well. But I'll give you everything I got. Empty the notebook every game. And so hopefully people appreciate that. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know what I can do better. I'm always looking to find ways to make it work. I like both you and Mike. Thanks. My pick for dark horse in the rotation, Kyle Gibson. I think that I'm buying. Derek Falvey has done great work with ground ball pitchers in his career. Corey Kluber, Justin Masterson. All their guys are ground ball guys with the exception of Trevor Bauer right now. So I like to see what they do with him. I think Jason Castro is going to help a lot. So I'm really hoping that Kyle Gibson can take the next step this year. He's not a baby. He turns 30 this winter, this late fall, I guess. So, it's kind of put up or shut up time for him. Really great guy. So I wish the best for him, but I think it's time for him to take that next step. Because when he gets to be on the wrong side of 30, with expensive years coming up, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. How hard is it for you to tweet during a game, and do I go on any road trips? No road trips at this point, which is fine with me. I still have my day job, which keeps me fairly busy around here in the Twin Cities area. But I don't know. Maybe I'll mix in a Milwaukee trip one of these years, or maybe Chicago. One of my goals is to get into the BBWAA here in the next couple of years. So hopefully we make that happen. Then I can go to any game. That's your pass to any major league game, which is obviously a goal of mine. As far as tweeting is easy. I got TweetDeck in front of me. I just kind of keep an eye on it. And I wish TweetDeck updated as fast as it used to, though. That's the one thing I don't like. Someone asked who the first young arm will be that comes up. I think that's going to be JT Chagua. Might be Tonkin, yeah, that gets cut. I don't know. I don't know how long they'll keep Craig Breslow around We'll see how effective he is. He had a lot of walks this spring, and I don't know if they trust him to get any righties out. So we'll see how long that lasts, but I think Shagwa's probably not far off. Bo Shears can help this team at some point, so can Ryan O'Rourke, but that would probably require a move that eliminates, probably Craig Breslow, because you don't need 3 lefties. And not only that, but I can't imagine having 3 lefties in a 7-man staff, 7-man bullpen. I do think they want to go back to a 7-man bullpen before the end of the month. So, we'll see how long they hang on to that for. All right, what else we got? Yeah, I think my list is empty. How influential do you think the new front office is in the lineup order? Not very. Molitor said on Sunday that they have not been very meddlesome as it comes to the batting order. It's basically his club. They give him the players, and then it's his job to put them on the field. So he gave the vibe that, he pretty much gets to do whatever he wants with the lineup. I think they give him suggestions. I think they, through Jack Goyne, can influence things, but they are very hands-off in that sense, which is good. A manager doesn't want to be micromanaged that way, especially a guy who's in the Hall of Fame and, has one really good year as a manager, has one really poor year as a manager. You want to know what you've got, so you probably want to have him managing mostly on his own to see what he's capable of, see if he deserves an extended look, or if it's going to be a situation where they go get someone else. Is Molitor managing for his job? Yeah, I think it's pretty clear he is. Obviously, he's on a 1-year deal. I called him a lame duck on my podcast. I've seen that term surface now in the newspapers here in the last couple of days. I don't say that begrudgingly or with any malice. I think Paul Molitor's a great guy. He's done a pretty good job with his team. He does make some decisions that I question, but he knows more. He forgets more about baseball while drinking his morning coffee than I'll ever know. So it's hard for me to question him too much. But yeah, it's pretty clear that he's managing for his job. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are on the short list of Thad Levine or Derek Falvey for who they might like to hire if they go in another direction. A name that comes to mind, maybe Sandy Alomar. We'll see what happens. If he's fired, is Doug Minkiewicz a candidate? I don't know. I don't know if they'll go down that road. They were not the people who interviewed last time around. I don't know how much they'd want to stay in-house as far as with Doug Minkiewicz. Obviously well-regarded. The one thing I noticed last September was when Minkiewicz walked into a room, he commanded the room. And it was some kind of like a swagger or an aura thing. It was incredible. There's certain people that you meet that command a room. And I'll tell you some of the people that I've met who can command a room with this organization. Tom Kelly can command a room with his aura. It's crazy because he's so unassuming, so quiet, hates the attention, but he can absolutely command a room. Kent Herbeck can command a room. Not as much as you might think, because he's he's kind of a goofball, but I think he carries enough weight, pun not intended, in the organization that he could command a room. He's not a coaching staff kind of guy, I don't think, or anything like that. Torrey Hunter absolutely commands a room. It's just of an aura. I don't know how you explain it, but it's just one of those things. And Doug Minkiewicz definitely gave me that vibe when I saw him walking around in the clubhouse during the September call-up situation last year. So, again, I think he'd be a good candidate. Again, I think Sandy Alomar Jr. would be a good candidate. You would have bilingual, Hispanic influence for a lot of Hispanic young players. Former catcher, which people seem to like as managers, comes from the Cleveland organization, so he'd be well regarded. Probably with Derek Falvey, I might expect. He's a Tito guy. Been working with him, so obviously that would be an angle. Maybe there's a Texas Ron Washington angle as well. Wash is crazy, absolutely insane, but hilarious. So I don't know. Speaking of Torrey and LaTroy, what are their roles with the team? They're basically advisors. They just kind of get used as the organization sees fit. I believe LaTroy said he was going to go see each of the affiliates twice this year and then be around Target Field a little bit. They were both at the stadium today because Rick Stelmazik, former bullpen coach of the Twins, before they hired, I believe they hired Bobby Cuellar, and then they hired Eddie Guardado. Stelmazik's going through pancreatic cancer. Looks a lot different, drastically different now that he's going through treatment, but seemed to be in good spirits today. And so those guys were all there to support him. Your AJ Pierzynski's and your Scott Laius was a name that I don't think a lot of people mentioned. I believe I saw him in that scrum. But Justin Morneau was in the clubhouse after the game, all that stuff. What do you think about the Cafardo report? Wasn't there little to no interest last fall? I did write about that in my pregame blog. I say today, actually it's yesterday now. I don't believe that there was little to no interest. And you know, Mike Berdino is one of the guys I respect most in this business. You know, he said, well, teams could have just claimed him. Well, I think teams didn't claim him because they thought they'd work out a trade after the fact. They knew the Twins would not let Santana go on a straight claim, so they didn't bother with the claim. Santana cleared waivers, and then nobody was willing to meet the price. Obviously, you have to meet the price with non-40-man players or players who have already cleared. Probably hard to do. I think the Twins, you know, as much as they'd like high-end talent, they probably want some closer to ready talent as well. At least they may have last year, you know, with Rob Anthony running the show. I don't know how it would differ now with Thad Levine and Derek Falvey, but I really do believe that at 2 years, $27 million, whatever the buyout is for the 2019 option, and then the fact that he's got a 3.59 ERA over the last 4 years in nearly 700 innings. I mean, that's not a joke. His last 15 starts last year was like a 2.10 ERA or something like that. I wrote it today on Zone Coverage. If you can find my pregame blog, it's in there. I believe that there's a good chance he could be moved at some point this year because I do think that he has a lot of value, and Father Time is undefeated. Irvin Santana is 34 years old. He's been very durable in his career, but he has thrown a ton of sliders. Get out while the getting's good. Do I think Mauer re-signs with the Twins after 2018? Yeah. He either re-signs or he retires. If they can make him a 35-year-old utility player that could play all over, boom. I just don't know that if he's not playing all over now, there's nothing much that's going to change between now and then as far as his versatility. You know, they're not going to need him to play first base. They can go out and find somebody that can replicate his production. So, you know, I know they said Brian Dozier said recently, you know, Joe Mauer still enjoys playing, but if Joe Mauer decided to retire after next year, that wouldn't stun me either. You know, he obviously doesn't need the money. He's accomplished pretty much everything a player can accomplish short of winning a World Series. You know, he's won the awards, won a lot of regular season games. He's had a very accomplished career. You know, if he wanted to hang it up and hang out with his wife and his kids, I would not begrudge him one bit. So it's you know, one of those deals where if he does want to re-sign, it would have to be as a part-time player for a lot less money. But what's the market for a part-time first baseman DH? Justin Morneau's sitting at home. You know, right now he's about the age that Mauer's going to be when Mauer hits free agency. You know, I just don't know. I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest. There won't be interest elsewhere, that's for sure. I just don't think that any other team's going to want him. But I don't think he's going to want to go anywhere else either. I mean, he's got the no-trade clause for a reason. So, I don't know. I if he wants to keep playing, I think the Twins would work something out, some kind of legacy deal. But if he can't help them in the outfield or at third base as a utility kind of guy, I just don't see the point. All right, we'll answer one more question and then call it a night. What you got? I got one on Twitter here from Cam Jensen. I know he's been in and out of here. So we'll wrap it with this one. I want to thank you all for joining us. ZoneCoverage.com. Check us out. Check out my Twins coverage. This, I think, is going to go up there tonight so people can watch it back, but I don't know. Cam says, Santana threw an absolute gem today. What do you think Santana will do Wednesday? Santiago, not Santana, sorry. I got big hopes for Santiago. You know, I don't know that... you know, I don't think he finishes the season as a Twin either. I think between him and Santana, the getting's going to be good to move these guys. You can pair off some payroll. You can get some kids up here in terms of Barrios, Gonsalves if he's ready, Jason Wheeler if he's not. You know, throw some things at the wall and see what fits. Give Tyler Duffy another run around. You know, these guys working with Jason Castro, Chris Jimenez, John Ryan Murphy, all good defensive catchers. I think the sky is the limit for some of these guys as far as their potential reaching it. Doesn't mean that they're great pitchers, but they should be able to be as good as they can possibly be. And I feel like Kurt Suzuki held them back. Santiago on Wednesday, not exactly a pitcher's duel. Santiago versus Ian Kennedy, I believe. I don't know. I think he gives him a quality start. I don't really like this Kansas City offense. I mentioned it earlier. Let's go 5-2 Twins win. And off to toast the boys again, 2-0. I'm Brandon Warne. You've been watching my Periscope show for zone coverage. Check out Midwest Swing tomorrow with myself and Mike Berardino. And thanks for joining me. Peace.